I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
You literally started the war. Pete, there is no we didn't start the war. You literally started the war. Pete, you changed your title to Secretary of War because you love war so much. You started the war. Pete, everybody went to bed Friday night. Everybody went to bed Friday night. No war. We woke up Saturday morning to war. Everyone woke up to a war because you started it. At 11 p.m., the president called you, and he knew you'd be awake because you were probably doing Jaeger bombs because you love bombing shit so much like your own liver. And he said, Pete, I need a distraction. Give me a war. And then you grabbed your phone and said, ChatGPT, I need a distraction. Give me a war. And then ChatGPT gave you a war. And then you named it Operation Epic Fury because your brain is a PlayStation 2. You stupid man. You started this war, and you don't even know how to finish it. You're lying to everyone. You're gaslighting people so much. On every way, you're literally gaslighting people. You're literally burning oil fields on the other side of the world. You have no win condition. We're in a biblical holy war now, and we are being run by the fucking Antichrist, Pete. You have no wins. You have no way out. You're a loser millennial who's failed upwards his entire life. And now the entire world is staring at you, and they can see that you are a naked moron. And now you have to hope that we somehow survive. And the best case scenario for you in the name Pete Hegseth is that it is slowly forgotten the same way we've forgotten the names of all those World War I generals. You fucking donkey.
The government is not listening to us. We didn't ask for war. We didn't ask for higher oil prices. We didn't ask for higher utility and grocery prices. But that's what we're getting. That is literally what we're getting. We are, on the other hand, asking for quite literally the bare minimum. We don't want to be involved in foreign wars. We want the Epstein files released, and we want livable wages. But the only way we get that is by showing them where it hurts the most. At the polls, at the fundraising events, all the things that get them to actually listen to us. So midterms are less than 8 months away, okay? We're not gonna win by passively letting that go by. We have to be active now, encouraging things that we want now, and not only getting them elected, but holding them accountable once they're elected. If they make all these promises and do nothing, they are the problem. And you are the problem if you continue to vote them into office.
You see, the biggest difference between an authoritarian government and a democratic government is that authoritarians don't usually listen to the people. They expect the people to listen to them and abide by them because they don't serve the people serve them. Now, when you hear Americans constantly raising alarm that their country is sliding into authoritarianism, it's because of what is happening. Governments, enacting policies that are very unpopular with the people. Right now, the loudest truths, about this war in the Middle East between US, Israel versus Iran, they're not coming from the White House, but it's coming from ordinary Americans who are asking one simple but a dangerous question: what does this war do for us? And that's a dangerous question, especially to any government. And this question, it's shaking the entire narrative, because when citizens begin to question war in real time, or even policies being enforced and enacted by their government, when they refuse to emotionally invest and believe in it, they reject it before, when they reject a war like this before it is even justified. That's not dissent. That's fracture in trust. That is, and right now what we are witnessing is not just disagreement. It is a widening gap between the government trying to sell a war to the people and the people, a population that is no longer ready to buy into this narrative. Now, let's listen a little longer to what Americans are saying, and we'll be back with some good analysis.
This message is for all the Iranians coming from black folks. We didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this mess in 2016. We didn't vote for this mess in 2020. We sure in the hell didn't vote for it in 2024. Only thing I ask, if you all do anything over here in the States, anything, please give the opportunity of black folks to get out of there before you start doing whatever you want to do. That's all I asked. Oh, and by the way, many Palestinian Americans who could vote over here, they also advise people not to vote for VP Harris. They advise them to vote for that person in the White House. So I'm just throwing that out there. I know we've had our differences in regards to when we come into your store and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we did not vote for this. So just make sure that if you see us, give us opportunity to clear out. That's all I'm asking.
So how are you feeling about the Iran war?
I just feel like they're doing all of this to basically cover for the Epstein files. Like, we're not fooled. We know what's going on. They're doing this. They don't want to admit the truth. So you start a war to distract all of the American citizens from what's going on right now. Yeah. And it's just ridiculous. Like, I'm actually ashamed, a little bit embarrassed to be calling myself an American with everything that's going on. This is not how America should be. People should come over here to have free lives, independent lives, live their lives, do whatever they want to do. People come to this country to make their dreams come true, not to be locked up in a concentration camp. Like, that's not normal. We literally have concentration camps right now in Texas. That's not normal at all. And they're using the media to distract us from all of that and make us forget. And we shouldn't. We all need to pay attention to what's going on right now in the world.
Do you support the war in Iran?
Never.
Why not?
I mean, the war in general is like, why are we killing each other? Like, what's the genocide for? You know what I mean? Like, we could live in peace and prosperity.
Do you support the war in Iran?
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
Why is that?
Not well thought out. There's no purpose to it. There was no thought about what would happen to the Strait of Hormuz.
There's like all the prices of oil is going up and all that.
Yeah, as a result of that. That's why other presidents didn't. It wasn't because they were cowardly. It was because they knew that there would be fallout from it, like exactly what's happening. And now it seems like an endless war. In fact, they wanted regime change. It didn't work because they're not stamped out. So it's either a much more prolonged, more violent war, or it's on their own terms a failure.
And how much of this war do you blame on Israel?
I think America wants the war too. I think Netanyahu's very happy the way things are going.
I know we come from like years of, anger and arguments and disagreements, but honestly, at the end of the day, like, we could just end it with love, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be war, you know what I mean? Like, we could love the Iranians just as much as the Jewish, and everybody can just get along.
What do you think about ICE showing up all these airports and everywhere?
Disrespectful, like, who are we? Like, they train us like animals. In the back of my head says we are human, because that's what we are. We're just human beings trying to live our life.
The people don't really want this war.
And what do you think about the political economic state of the world?
It's a Jaden Smith question.
Can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
Do you support the war in Iran?
No.
And why is that?
Well, first of all, I would say I'm against war in general. Second of all, I would say that we have so many problems already here that we do not need to be focused on issues abroad. We have so many issues with health care, with the way that we can support homeless people. That's not at all where we should be funding it, and putting our money. And I think that it's really sad the amount of civilians that are dying when there's so many better ways that we could be using that type of funding.
What do you think about the war in Iran? Support it?
Hell no. Even the strike on Fordow a couple months ago was fucked up, and then this is just an escalation. It's both fucked up, and it's also just a demonstration of complete incompetence.
And what do you think about the political economic state of the world?
It's a mess.
Do you support the war in Iran?
No.
Why not?
All of our administration before this one, they all said, don't go to war with Iran, don't mess with Iran. People are suffering, prices of living is going up, oil is going up as a result. Even food is becoming less and less accessible to underprivileged communities.
Good evening. I know it's a little bit late in the hour, but I wanted to go ahead and make this video. Black Americans in the United States, please do not let any of your children join the U.S. military. Once again, this knucklehead has found a way to move people's mindset away from the Epstein files. But I'm going to make it real easy for you. Hey, white Americans, and hey, black Americans, and hey, anybody else, African Americans. And African Americans is those people from Africa who decided to come over and now become Americans. You're African American. And this fundamentally black American, I don't know what the hell, let the fundamentally bullshit go. Because bottom line is, at the end of the day, your peoples was reclassified like mine. Your folks was the original Native Indian descendants. We got reclassified. So this fundamentally bullshit, what is that? Just like anytime you got white folks talking about black Americans, they always say African American. And you want to know why? African American has no lineage ties to any land in the United States. If you're a black American and you cannot tie any of your family members to anywhere except here, this is why we can't get deported, and this is why everybody is mad at us. And if they're mad and they don't know history, they don't want to pick up a book, don't want to go to the local library and where they live at, whatever county or state wherever they live at, they don't want to use Google, they don't want to use ChatGPT, they don't want to go to the Library of Congress, then fuck them. That's all I'm going to say, plain and simple, fuck them. If you don't know American history, then shame on you. And I'm not talking about this punk-ass George Washington or anybody else. Thomas Jefferson. We have a history of pedophiles. The dude was 40. Sally Hemings was 14. He running up on her like nobody's business. I think he ended up having 4 to 5 kids with the woman. And I say woman because basically, once you make a girl pregnant, you've already moved her organs and moved her glands into womanhood. And then the thing that tickled me is, stop believing in their bullshit. Stop sacrificing your children for combat. Because at the end of the day, they had opportunities to take over countries, and like the board game Risk, they had the time and the availability to take over countries and take over resources to where the United States would have had more than enough. But every time we go into war, guess what? We destabilize a country, and then you end up having to rebuild it. Destabilize Japan. All the tech came from them. Destabilize Germany. All the good hardware came from them. And there's a lot of medical care notes that they got. But here's the thing that tickles me. Ashkenazi Jews are not tied to Israel. It's the Hebrew Israelites that are. And they look like you and me. But that's not our people. Now, some of it may be. You got people floating out the idea that, if you read the basis of the Bible, it said the people were scattered to the corners of the earth. And everybody is basically marked down lineage. And if you go to the Mississippi, they talk about the Mounds people. Everybody west of the Mississippi is Euro-Asians. They saw our people cross the Bering Strait and was like, well, what the fuck? Where are they going? We got no animals. We got no way to grow any agriculture. Let's follow those black people. All our people, all the black folks, are from the east of the Mississippi River, all the way to the East Coast, all the way as far up as Maine and going into Canada, and all the way as far down as going into Florida and all those little miniature islands on the side of the country. At the end of the day, black Americans are the descendants of the original Native Indians. I've been on the internet and you got people coming out they asshole with this Native American shit. It wasn't America. It wasn't. There was no thing called America. Just like there was no thing called Africa back then. And this is how bad it is in the United States. The American education system is some absolute fucking garbage. Garbage from day fucking one. They say the conquerors write their own history, and that's what they did here. This country wouldn't be shit if it wasn't for black Americans. It wouldn't be shit without the original native Indians. You can grow corn by itself. You can grow melons by itself. You can grow peppers by itself. But when you grow all four of those fruit and vegetables together, the synergy between the fruit and vegetables and what it does to the soil makes everything grow better. There's not a thing in your household. My hand is made up of 3 black people that made this smartphone. There's not a thing that you can't go to in the United States that a black American has put their hands on. And Trump coming over there with that fucking speech, America's built everything. He making it seem like white people did it. The only white person that really invented something was the dude out in Finland invented 2G. Edison's got 1,093 inventions to his name. 3 of them is his, and they was all fucked up. The other 1,091 were intellectual property rights in his business. He had a lawsuit with the same black gentleman that invented the roller coaster. The gentleman invented the galvanized battery. If you ride in a regular car, your car, that battery inside is a galvanized battery. If your car has park, reverse, neutral, and drive, because your ass don't know how to drive a 5-speed, the black man that invented that, and his shit is worldwide, he should have been the billionaire 1,000 times over, easy, Richard Bowie Spikes. But this is how powerful black people are, and this is why people hating on us. The dude, if you ever sat in a barbershop chair as a man, and the barber was able to swivel the chair around, Richard Bowie Spikes invented that. And any of you white people on here, you looking at me, man, right now, you went into a bar, and the dude pulled the tap to pour you a glass of beer. Richard Bowie Spikes invented and patented that situation. Even the color TV. It wasn't the actual tube that was color. It was the filament that you could put in front of it. And that was invented by a Mexican man in 1956. I think the only white dude that really invented something, and he didn't really understand the process, but he took good notes. And that was the microwave. This engineer was in front of this equipment, and he had a Hershey's chocolate bar in his pocket. And when he turned on the test equipment, the chocolate bar started to melt in his pocket. But truth be told, if you got a microwave in your house, you need to get rid of that thing. Because after the second year, the protective filament in and outside of the microwave starts to deteriorate. And if you're standing in front of it waiting for your microwave popcorn to be popped, you're getting radiated. I'm going to make one more video to attach to this, but thank you for listening.
Now, there is a very clear divide forming between the American government and the American people when it comes to this war in the Middle East, especially. One side, you have the government, pushing a familiar script. They're calling this war defensive, strategic, and necessary. And they're framing it as something that protects not just America, but global stability. apparently. And on the other side, you have the people, American citizens. And one thing with the people is that they remember, and they remember the Iraqi war. They remember the Afghanistan war. They remember the Vietnam War. They remember the promises, the justifications, the quick victories that turned into endless, bloody, expensive wars, And when they hear the same script, the government trying to sell to them again, they're not reacting with fear. They are reacting with recognition, with memory, and that really changes everything, because this is no longer a population that really blindly trusts wartime narrative or wartime propaganda. This is a population that has learned from the past, learned from the past wars and history, sometimes painfully. This war is often packaged like a product. It's sold with urgency, it's wrapped in patriotism, and it is marketed as very necessary and as very strategic and as very beneficial to America. But it is delivered with consequences that the ordinary American people are left to shoulder, in the form of the people they lose, in the form of the monies that are spent and the resources that are put into it. But now, for perhaps one of the first times at this scale, Americans are openly rejecting the sale, and they're saying, we have seen this before. We know how these have ended before, and we're not interested. That's a serious problem for their government and any government that deems to serve the people, serve the interests of the people. Because in a democracy, and that differentiates a democracy from an authoritarianism. Power doesn't come from authority in democracy. It comes from consent. It comes from the public, the people, the population. And when that consent starts to disappear, when people begin to feel like their government is acting independently of their interest, then what we are looking at is not just disagreement, but it is distrust and mistrust. And that distrust is now bleeding into something even more fascinating. We're seeing Americans communicate beyond their government. We're seeing Americans speaking to the Iranian government, and the Iranian government speaking to the American citizens and sidelining the government. And the messages on both sides are surprisingly consistent and similar. And they're saying, we don't have a problem with you as the American people. We have a problem with the government. And Americans are saying the same thing. We don't have a problem with the Iranian people and the Iranian government. We are not in support of this war. And think about how powerful and how dangerous that can be. If the people of America don't trust their own government, and now they have to even speak to a government, apparently their government wants them to see as the enemy. Because it breaks one of the oldest tools of war, the idea that the entire populations are enemies, creating the enmity, making Americans see the whole government and the whole country of Iran as the enemy of America. But that illusion is collapsing, and I can say it is collapsing in real time. People are beginning to separate government from citizens, policies from the people, and agendas of the government from everyday life. And once that separation becomes clear, it becomes hard to justify this kind of wars. Now, add another layer to this situation, and the United States isn't just facing resistance from its own people, but is also facing hesitation from its own allies that have always been yes to any proposition from the United States. And that's rare. Historically, America has had, the ability to rally support, to build coalition, to bring her allies along, even in very controversial conflicts like this one. But now, that automatic alignment seems to be weakening, seems to be disappearing. And a big part of that has to do with leadership, particularly under, because what we are seeing is a style of decision making that appears increasingly driven by image, by perception, and by ego, the unwillingness to appear weak. That's what we are seeing with Donald Trump, basically. Ego. It's an ego driven war. And that's where things become dangerous, because when a war becomes tied to ego, it becomes hard to end, because ending it looks like to Donald Trump like being a loser. And that's what he's not ready to stomach. Even when the costs are ever rising, in terms of human lives, in terms of resources, monetary form, even when the support from the people, from Americans is fading, even when the allies are not buying into your idea, even when the outcome is very, very uncertain, you're not sure to win this war, it becomes like a moving train, quickly moving towards the wrong direction, but refusing to stop because stopping would look like failure. And history has shown us something very clear. The longer you stay in a wrong train, the more expensive your return journey will become. And now here is the strategic reality that Americans are also, starting to perhaps recognize. The nature of these wars. The United States often fights wars far from home, wars that are not even about survival, but they are more political. It's about influence, positioning, and political calculation, or if I might call it miscalculation. But then the people they are fighting, the so-called the enemies, they are fighting at home, and they are fighting for their home. They are fighting on their own land, for their own land, with nowhere else to go. You see, that's a very hard fight, because they don't have an exit strategy. They don't have an alternative. They don't have the option of just deciding this war is over, time to leave. Because, this is different. They fight longer. They fight harder. They have nothing else to lose, because they have nowhere else to go. So they'll fight till the last minute and to the last soldier, And these fights, they fight. There's endurance in such wars. The level of endurance that external force often underestimates, and we have already seen it. When this war began, Donald Trump wanted the world to believe that it was going to be a few days, just a few days, and we're done with this mission. But now it turned into weeks. It's turning now into months. But you see, that's where many of these conflicts don't end in clear victories. The wars that we have seen US indulge in before, there were no clear victories, we can say. Look at them. In Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Vietnam, in Libya, we cannot decisively say they won in Afghanistan or in Vietnam. Because one side has a choice to leave the war. The other side cannot leave. Where are they going to? Where are the Iranians going to? They have nowhere to go. So when Americans look at this war, and they're not just saying is this justified? They're not just asking that question, but they're asking, is it even winnable? Can we even win this war? Is it necessary? And why are we involved at all when we have more urgent domestic issues at home, economic struggles, social tensions, domestic priorities that feel increasingly ignored, inequality? The US has billions of money to spend in war, but cannot channel that money to facilitate an affordable health care system for its own hardworking citizens, and that's where the frustrations deepens, because many Americans, to many of them, this war doesn't feel like protection. It feels like distraction, and they have already said it, that this is Donald's way of distracting us from the Epstein files, from the economic sabotage, and from many other problems that remain unresolved back at home. And that's why this divide is growing, not shrinking, but continuously growing, because once people begin to question not just a war but the intention behind it, they don't easily just go back to blind trust. They become more critical, more skeptical, and even resistant. They resist the whole idea. And for a government, this is a very uncomfortable position to be in, because wars require one, unity, belief and consent of the people, and they require a shared sense of purpose, not just a powerful military. A powerful military without the backing of the people is as good as dead, and right now the unity simply isn't there in this war. And that's what we so really what we are witnessing is bigger than just disagreement over foreign policy, but it is a test. It is a test of how much influence a government still has over its people. Is a test of how much history has changed public perception of the people, and a test of whether modern population can still be mobilized for war and causes like this that they do not believe in. And right now, the answer from many Americans is very clear. This is not our war. And really, that changes the entire equation. Yeah. So that's my analysis of this. Do share with me what you think about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You can share it as well. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And I'll really, really appreciate. So until next time, I'll see you in the next video.